Hey guys, how's it going? Can you hear me? Cool. All right, so we're going to get started here. Thanks for joining me for the webinar. My name is Ian Alexander. I'm one of the co-founders here at RepairTech, and today what I'm going to be doing is walking you through TechSuite and each of the tools contained within it and answering any questions you might have along the way. So if you do have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat box there like Peter just did, and I'll be happy to get to them as soon as I see them. Just as a little bit of background before we get started here, RepairTech started in 2011. We had been in the IT business doing computer repair, and were frustrated with the computer repair process, and had backgrounds in computer science, and decided to do something about it. And now, and a year later, in October of 2012, launched RepairTech in order to help other repair shops automate their computer repair process so that they could be more accurate and efficient. Since then, we've been improving our products and working with more repair shops, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's kind of our background, and I guess we can get started here. So the way that we help repair shops such as yourselves is with TechSuite, and that contains 3 different utilities here. The first of which is TechWARU, and that is the Windows Automated Repair Utility. You can use this to automate over 300 commonly used utilities like Combo Fix and CCleaner within Windows. It has tons of different tools, everything from cleanup, tune-ups, updates, malware removal, all kinds of stuff. And the way that it works is it takes all of those tools that you're already using and puts them in one user interface so that they're accessible, and then enables you to simply select what you want to run ahead of time, click Start, and come back to a full HTML report. And the main reason we made that is because we know that technicians normally have a checklist, and they run through each of the tools sequentially, clicking Next and Finish and Remove on every single tool, and that is a very frustrating experience, especially if you have 10 or 12 computers on the bench. So instead of doing that, you can automate the whole process with TechWARU. The second tool is TechUSB, and that is a bootable computer repair operating system. And with TechUSB, you can stick a USB drive into every computer that comes into your shop, boot into its environment, and then automate your hardware diagnostics and malware removal processes from outside of the operating system. So it specializes in hard drive and memory testing, as well as file system checks and repairs. And if you can't get into Windows, you can run malware removals from here as well. So I will give you a demo on both of these. TechUSB also generates reports and is kind of a an automated utility, just like TechWARU. And both of those reports that they generate can be uploaded to the third part, which is TechPortal, and that is your online dashboard for computer repair. So that is where you would keep all of your reports. You can print them out, give them to your clients, or keep them for your records. And there's also a bunch of other nifty features on there as well that I will walk you through. But before I get into TechWARU, do you guys have any questions up front, or anything in particular that you want to hear about? Okay, all right. So we will move on then, and let me just open up TechWARU here. So here is the first screen you'll see when you open up TechWARU. It's going to ask you for a customer name and a ticket number. This information gets saved in the registry, so if you're working on this client's computer again, it will already have it there. I'm going to go ahead and click Continue here, and we're going to be taken to the Tools page. So on the Tools page, which is the main page in TechWARU that you're going to interface with, you'll see that there is a list of tool categories on the left-hand side here. And as we go through each of these categories, the list of tools will change and then we can select the tools we want. And you'll see here there's a description box for each of the tools. So if you don't know what one of the tools does, you can read it here. Some of them are too long to fit in this box, so you can click and it will pop up this tool description box here. And then as I change the tool that is selected, the box will change as well. On the right-hand side here, we have the tool queue. And the tool queue is a list of tools that we want to run in order. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clear it, and then we can build a queue and we will run it. So I'm going to pick a bunch of tools that I know run pretty quick since we don't want to waste any time during the demo. We can get the product keys. Maybe we will list the apps installed on the computer, see what is running on boot. We can get some info about my laptop's battery and any blue screens I've had recently. Back up the registry, and this is a good example. If I want to change the order in which these tools are running, I can click and hold and let go there, and it will move that tool in the queue. So I'm going to back up the registry at the beginning. Malware removal, we can run hijack this and registry investigator because those are both super quick and produce nice logs. We can, let's see if I delete some stuff here. We can clear out the recycle bin just so you can see what it looks like when you clean something up. And that'll probably be good. So we have this queue here, and that's a list of tools that we're going to run. And let's say that this is something that I want to run often. So maybe it's a malware removal queue or a tune-up queue or something like that. What I can do is I can save it as a preset. And saving it as a preset makes it so that I can simply load it next time rather than building it from scratch. So I'm going to overwrite my existing demo preset here. You can see that there's some other presets that we provide you by default. Those are just presets we've built for various uses. One of them, for example, is the malware removal preset, and that's a list of 32 different tools that we feel help you effectively remove malware from the system. There's a video on our YouTube channel if you're interested in why we picked each of those tools. But for now, what we can do is we can clear that, and we will load the demo preset that we just made. So now that we have that queue loaded up, I'm going to go ahead and click Run, and it's going to run each of those tools. So before it actually runs any tools, it's going to create a system restore point. Just in case something gets messed up, we have something we can go back to. In general, it's just a good practice. So it's going to create a system restore point here, and then it will run each of the tools. And when it runs these tools, what it's going to do is first it will download the tool if it's not already on the system, and I'll show you actually where it stores those applications. Once it downloads the tool, if necessary, it will run the tool and then gather any logs that it generates to put in a report, and then it will move on to the next tool. So right now it's backing up the registry, and once it's done with that, it's going to move on here, and then now it's going through all the tools. At the very end, we're going to get to see a full HTML report. Okay, so here we have the report. You can see it here. You can view it within TechWARU, but what I like to do is I like to open it up in the default browser. It's just a better viewing experience. It's easier to read that way. So here I have it open in Chrome. In the top left, you'll see that there's a logo here. It's normally the TechWARU logo, but you can custom brand this with your logo very easily, and I will show you how to do that once we get to TechPortal. In the middle, you get the customer name, ticket number that we entered at the beginning, the technician that's working on this, when it was run, the number of tools that were run, and how long it took. And then here we have 4 boxes that are displayed in every single report. So you have information about the operating system, hardware, so for example what kind of motherboard I have, any information about my network, alerts. If I want to hide one of these boxes, I can click this arrow and it will collapse that, that section. And below we get a listing for every single tool that we ran and detailed results for them. So I backed up the registry, so in this case it just tells me where it backed it up to. I ran get product keys, so here's a my Windows key. List installed apps, lists every single application installed on my computer, what version it is, in some cases the URL of the vendor. What in startup is pretty straightforward. It tells you, what's happening when you boot the computer up, what command line options are being run, who made that application, the path to that file when it was created. Battery info view gives you some information about my laptop's battery. Blue screen view, apparently I did have a blue screen recently, so I should probably look into that at some point. So this gives you the information that's necessary for that. Hijack This, pretty old tool you're probably all familiar with. This is just the generic Hijack This log, and it gathered it for us after it ran it and put it in this report. Registry Investigator is a tool that we worked on in collaboration with the virus doctor, Ken Dwight. And what this tool does is it basically takes his virus remediation process and automates it. So it goes through the registry and finds commonly modified values by malware and will either take action to fix that issue, or it will simply report it to you so that you can make an educated decision. So it goes through a bunch of different sections in the registry, and it's a pretty nifty tool. Then we ran an empty recycle bin, and all I did was delete some desktop shortcuts, so it didn't clean up very much, but I wanted to show you what it looks like when it does clean things. So this is a pretty standard TechWARU report. I guess it's worth noting that they're fully responsive. So this is what it would look like on a tablet, maybe on a mobile phone. It would look like this. So you can view it from your phone. So that is a report. What we can do is I can click Upload Report here, and that will upload this report we just made to TechPortal. It takes about a minute to get there most of the time, and can take less actually, but at most a minute. And so when we get to TechPortal, I'll show you that that report is there. Any questions before I move on to the other sections of TechWARU? Okay, so we saw the Tools tab. You just saw reports. Let's move on to System Information. So System Information has the exact same 4 boxes that you saw on the top of the reports. They're just accessible at any given time. We have a migration tool here. So if you ever have a client that comes into your shop and they have a old computer and they want to maybe move their data from the old computer to a new one, you can use this tool to move their user profile over. It'll even create a new user profile that matches the old one. It can move wildcard files like PDFs and all kinds of stuff. Let's see here, if we've got backup data, maybe I can show you exactly what it looks like. I don't want to actually run the tool because it takes a while, but I can show you a little bit. So you select the partition you want to, the source partition, any user profiles you want to move over, wildcards that you want, so it'll scan the hard drive for example, in this case, DocX or QuickBooks files. You can add wildcards. You can back up particular folders and all kinds of stuff, and then you can select where you want it to go, and there's options for that as well. So it's a pretty cool tool and can save you a lot of time. The options page. So there's a lot of stuff in TechWARU, and you're going to want to configure it. It's pretty straightforward to do so, but it's worth being walked through and asking questions and stuff. So on the first page is just general info about this instance of TechWARU. This is my demo account email. This is the version of TechWARU. We typically release about 2 versions per month, so we definitely take a lot of feature requests from our customers and attempt to put them on the dev queue, so we release a lot of updates. If you want to view the most recent release notes, you can click this and it'll pop up a notepad here. Report settings. So if you want to change the settings that you selected in the very beginning, you can do so here. Config file. So all of your settings, so when I say settings, I mean these configurable settings here that you're going to change, and your custom applications and your presets, which I will go over again, are saved in this config file here. And if you want to have those settings synced across all of your drives, what you can do is you can export the settings to TechPortal or to a file and then import them. So when you export this to TechPortal, which is the easiest way to do it, it'll upload your settings to TechPortal. You can view them on TechPortal and change them, and I'll show you that. And then on all your other drives, you can just click import, and then you'll have all the same settings across all of your drives. Startup password. So I didn't show you this yet, but I will do so now. TechWARU here, this application I'm running, is just an exe, and it's completely portable. It doesn't need to be installed. but the first time you run it, what it does is it unpacks this assets folder. And the assets folder is what contains all of the applications. So you'll see if you go into third-party tools, this is where all the applications we just ran get downloaded to. Any reports are put in the logs folder. So this is where all your settings are. And so because it's completely portable, a lot of people like to use it within a remote session and use TechWARU remotely. And some of them like to leave TechWARU on the client's machine so that if they need to remote in again, they can access it. However, because if you go into like the malware removal section, you can see there's some pretty powerful applications in here. You don't really want the end user to be running combo fix. So what you can do is you can set a startup password, and that just makes it so when the end user tries to open up TechWARU, they're prompted for a password, and they can't access the application unless they have it. Below that, we have some configurable settings here. Auto resume run makes it so that if an application restarts the computer in the middle of a TechWARU queue run, it will pick up from where it left off after the reboot. So, for example, Combo Fix likes to restart the computer, and if it does so, and you have this set to enabled, what it will do is it will restart the computer. Combo Fix will finish running. It will start TechWARU again, and then run the next tool in the queue after Combo Fix. The next three settings are related to TechWARU performing tasks after a queue is run. So you can have it reboot the computer, auto-upload the report so you don't have to click that button, and auto-close TechWARU. The next one is an interesting one. I will go over it in more detail later when we get to TechPortal, but suffice it to say you can upload a Windows executable to TechPortal and have TechWARU download it every time it boots up and run it automatically. If you are using TechWARU in a remote session and you don't want to leave it on the client's computer, one option you have is you can have it auto-delete TechWARU on shutdown. So you can have, when you close TechWARU, it'll delete itself. I also mentioned when we ran that queue that TechWARU created a restore point. So if you don't want it to do that for some reason, you can disable it here. Branding. So you can custom brand TechWARU. You can change the logo here. You can change the reports. You can change the title bar. All of that is done through TechPortal, and I'll show you that later. But you can also custom brand the operating system. So in the same way that HP or Dell likes to put their logo in the start menu or the startup screen, you can configure that here. And once you configure it, you can go into the tools section and let's see, where is it? System tweaks. You can add brand OS to the queue and it will run with those settings. And that right now works on XP up to 7. We're working on adding in functionality for 8 as well. Presets. So on this page you can delete presets that you've made. You can also set them as default. So for example, if I wanted this preset to be loaded into the queue when I opened up TechWARU, I could set that as default here. Custom applications. So you probably noticed there's like 300 tools in here. There's a bunch, but obviously if you've written your own applications, like some BAT file or a CMD file or a reg file or something like that, and you want to be able to use that as part of your TechWARU runs, or you want to add some third-party tool that we haven't already put in here, you can do so via this custom app functionality. So you get this wizard here, and it's going to ask you for the name of the app and the download URL. And the download URL is pretty much the most important field in this whole thing. The reason being is it tells TechWARU not only where to find the application if it's not already in the assets folder, but it also tells TechWARU what kind of application it is. So because of that, you are required to have a direct download URL that ends in a file extension. So it can't be like a mirror with a timer on it. It has to be something that ends in like .exe or .zip or .cmd or something like that. And one trick for that is if you can't find a URL for the executable that you want, what you can do is download it and then upload it to some hosting service like Dropbox or Google Drive, and then use the direct download link from those. So once you put this in here and you click next, it's going to download the application for you so you can test run it, and then it's going to ask you for a bunch of options. So what operating systems it works on, any command line parameters you want to run it with. It'll ask you for the location of the log files if they generate log files, so that it can put those stuff in the reports. And then it will show up like any tool. So it's going to ask you what category it is, and then it'll just show up in here. Pretty straightforward. So tool settings, by default, all of the tools are going to scan the system drive. So if you don't want them to scan the system drive, maybe you have a hard drive plugged into a hard drive dock or something like that, you can change that here, and you'll probably want to do so before you click Run. We have a tool in here under Networking Utilities called Install Custom DNS, and if you want to configure that here, you can do so. We have put some standard DNS servers in here, but you can change them to whatever you want. Update third-party apps. So in the event that you're going to go on site and you don't know if the client is going to have internet, you probably want to download and update the applications ahead of time. So right now you can do that with the malware utilities. We're working on adding all of the utilities into here, but it's really easy to use. You just click Update All, and it will download the newest version of all of these, and that way you have them on the drive already before you go on site, so you don't have to download them. If you're using 99 Pro, you can specify the executable here, and it will populate a list of all of the command line parameters. Check off whatever you want. So if you only want to install, or you only want to update, and you want these applications X, Y, and Z, you can select those, click Save, and then when you run 99 Pro here in your queue, it will use those settings. So the last section here, and perhaps most important, is the malware automation settings. You'll notice that if you go to the malware removal section, most of these tools do not have a little asterisk next to them. Some do. I'd say there's like 5 of them that have an asterisk, and that asterisk denotes that it requires some kind of user interaction, so it's not fully automated. All of the tools are semi-automated in the sense that it will download the tool for you and run it, but some of them just require some kind of, maybe you have to click a dialog box or something. But for the ones that are fully automated, which is the majority, you're going to want to configure them here to perform the way that you want them to. Rogue Killer is the best example. All of them have like slightly different options, but Rogue Killer has all 3, so it's a good example here, and I'll use that. So it's worth noting that all 3 of these are fully automated. It just changes the way that the program behaves when it finds malware. So scan and quit. What this will do is it'll run Rogue Killer and run the scan automatically, and at the end it will just quit, gather the log file, and put it in the report. So it's not going to actually remove any malware if it finds it. It'll just simply report the results of its scan and then move on to the next tool. Scan and hold, alternatively, will start the scan, and when it's done, it will just simply put Rogue Killer in the background and leave it open. That way, when you're done running your tools, you can just select what you want to remove and then close the application. So it's leaving it up to you to decide what you want to do. If you really trust the application, you can have it auto-remove everything it finds. So again, all 3 of these are fully automated. There's different options for each of the tools based on what command line parameters those applications provide to us. But you'll want to configure these before you actually try to remove malware so that you know exactly what's happening. Any questions on anything? We've gone through all the different pages of TechWARU. The next thing is TechUSB, but before we move on, I just want to make sure you guys don't have any questions. Okay, well, let me know if you think of anything. So TechUSB, like I mentioned, let me resize this here. TechUSB is a bootable utility, right? So it's based on Debian Knoppix, which some of you may be familiar with. It's a popular Linux distribution for computer repair and maintenance. And we based it on that and added some stuff on top. So because it's bootable, it's kind of difficult to demo in a Windows environment. So the best I can really do is put it in VirtualBox here. Obviously, if you actually booted into this, this would be full screen here. But as you can see, it is a full-fledged desktop environment. It's got everything from a terminal to a web browser, text editor, file manager, gparted if you want to change partition stuff. You can use grsync to do data recovery. If you want to view information about the hard drive, you can use this. There's all kinds of stuff in here and even more in the start menu. However, the main thing that we added here is this TechUSB Automator application. And the TechUSB Automator application is open here. And what it does is it automates the hardware diagnostic and malware removal processes. So in the same way that TechWARU works, you enter a ticket number and a customer name, and then you select what you want to run, click start, and then it'll automate the whole thing for you. So what I'm going to do is I will go through each of these tests and tell you how they work and how I normally use them, and you can ask me any questions if you have them. So the first test is the memory test. You can run between 1 and 17 tests. They get progressively more intensive. If you run all of them, it's going to take like 2 hours. Or sorry, like 2 days, depending on how much memory you have. So I wouldn't recommend running 17 unless you really, really need to. The default is 9, but I typically bump that down to 7. Reason being is realistically, if you have bad memory on the system, chances are you can't even boot the computer up. So if you are able to boot it into TechUSB, you're probably going to know pretty quick if you have bad memory. So I'm always a fan of trying to save time. So I bump that down to 7. The next 2 tools are used for determining if you have a bad hard drive. And when we were designing these tools, the thing that we constantly kept in mind was how can we determine if you have a bad hard drive with as few steps as possible. The reason for that was that we wanted to increase the likelihood you were able to recover data from the hard drive. So the first tool is the HDD Smart test, and what that does is it first runs an overall health check status on the hard drive, and if that passes, then it will run a smart short test, which takes approximately 2 minutes. So this is a really quick test. It takes like 2 minutes and 5 seconds or something most of the time, and oftentimes is all you really need to determine if the hard drive is bad. If that passes both, then it will move on to the block test. And the block test goes through every single block on the hard drive and tries to determine if it's healthy or not. You can configure the maximum number of bad blocks that it will scan for before it stops scanning. So the default is 4, but I usually set it to 1. And the reason I set it to 1 is because if I have a client that comes into a repair shop and they have at least 1 bad block on their hard drive, I would not recommend giving them their hard drive back. I would tell them they need a new one and then try to recover their data and port it over. So I might as well save my own time as a technician and just stop when I get to 1 bad block. Yes, you're not going to be able to tell the client, you have 12 bad blocks, but on the other hand, it's more likely that you're going to recover their data because you've done less reads and you've saved maybe, an hour of your time. So that's why I usually set it to 1. The next tool here is the File System Check and Repair tool. So what this does is it actually goes through the file system and looks for file system errors and will attempt to repair them within the TechUSB Automator application. It does that on all modern file systems, FAT, FAT32, HFS+, XT2, 3, and 4, and NTFS. I guess Windows, Mac, and Linux. In the case of NTFS, so Windows, it actually won't do it within the Automator application. Instead, it will schedule a check disk with the fix flag to run on the next reboot. So if you check this tool off and you run it, then on a Windows computer, when you reboot from TechUSB, it will run a check disk on that boot. The next 2 tools are malware removal tools. Obviously, you saw how many there were in TechWARU, so the ideal situation is if you can just remove the malware in safe mode with networking or within Windows using TechWARU. In the event that you can't get into Windows, then you can use ClamAV and AVG in order to hopefully remove the malware to the point where you can get in. So that is the TechUSB main page here. Like I said, because we're in VirtualBox, it acts really finicky because it can't find any malware. So what I'm going to do instead of actually running it is show you what it would look like. So here is TechUSB. Here's the page you just saw. Once I click run, then it's going to go and run through each of the tools I selected. Here it's running a file system repair tool. Get a little progress bar here, and it tells you what it's doing. And then at the end, you get a report very similar to TechWARU, where it says pass or fail on the left-hand side. You get some system information, and at the bottom, you would get a listing for each of the tools that you ran and their results. So that is a overview of TechUSB. Is there anything you guys are confused about or have questions on? Anything you want to dive deeper on? Okay, well then I will move on to TechPortal. So I'm going to sign into my demo account real quick. And here we have my demo account. So there's two things. We're on the dashboard page right now, and there's two things that I want to highlight on here. And the first is on the bench. On the bench is a pretty cool feature that you can use to get a high-level overview of everything that's happening in your shop at any given time. So if I open up TechWARU here and I run a tool that maybe requires some user interaction like mail pass view, we go ahead and click run. And once it's done creating that restore point, I can refresh my screen, and you can see that it says running mail pass view. So if I had a bunch of computers on my bench that were running TechWARU, it would be cool because I could see exactly what they were doing at any given time. Below that, we have Tech Search here, which is a search engine that we built to help you quickly find computer repair related issues. Obviously, you can find all of this information on Google. You're a tech, you can figure that out. But this is a super targeted way of doing so. So if I was to search for this motherboard, for example, and I wanted to buy it, I could go to parts vendors here, and quickly I would find that. Drivers for that motherboard. I could also search for process names. So if I go to viruses, for example, here's instantly information about that process. So it's a pretty targeted way of doing all of this stuff. Below that, you have tech news. So we pull news from around the web, from our partners, from various computer repair blogs and news sources, and give them to you here so you can stay updated on the industry. For example, this is a video interview I did with Kyle from iFixit, and here is a Podnuts podcast episode, I'm guessing with Tech Lady, or Call That Girl, about cloud services that you can provide. Next, we can move on to the downloads page, and I'll show you how you can actually get these applications. So at the top of the downloads page here, you're going to see some authentication information. This is information for each of the technicians you have on your account. So you can add technician accounts here, and each of these techs will get their own login to TechPortal with their own password. The only difference between their account and your admin account is that they can only see their information here on the downloads page, and they cannot access your account settings. They can't change your technician settings or your integration settings or your custom branding, but they can view the reports and they can download the applications. So that's their information here. They're going to need these credentials in order to use the applications. Below that, we have two main downloads. One is TechWARU, so it's the executable that you saw earlier, and the other is TechUSB. And the actual download for this is called TechSuite Creator, and that is a, let me stop this real quick, that is a Windows executable we made that helps you build or create TechUSBs. So I have it running here. The first thing it asks us is if we want to additionally download TechWARU to the USB drive. The reason we do this is because you're creating a TechUSB, so you're going to have a bootable utility in TechUSB, but additionally you can put TechWARU on the drive so that after you boot into the system and run your hardware diagnostics and you find out that all the hardware is okay, you can boot into Windows and run TechWARU to complete the rest of your checklist. So it's all in one drive. You can also add custom ISOs to the boot menu. So if you want to put Hiren's Boot CD or Ultimate Boot CD or Gparted or Clonezilla or any other ISO on there, you're welcome to do so. The next screen is just going to ask you to insert your USB drive and to select it. Then when you click next, it's going to wipe it for you and download the necessary files and reformat the drive, and then it'll put the files there, and then you'll have a bootable utility. So it's pretty easy to create a TechUSB drive. It takes like 8 or 9 minutes the first time because it has to download the files, but the next times it's a lot quicker. So that is how you use the applications. Here we have the reports page where you can see all the reports you've uploaded. Here is the report that we made earlier in this webinar. You can view that here, and you'll see that it is the exact same report that we had in TechWARU. Under Tools, you can see that there are a couple sections here. The ones that I really want to go over are Configure TechWARU. The cool thing about this section is that it shows you all of the different options that we saw in TechWARU, but it allows us to modify them here, and we can save it to our account, or we can save it and apply it to all of the technician accounts. Additionally, it shows every single preset that's being used in our shop. We can add it to our own configuration if it's not currently. We can also distribute it to other technicians. The same can be done for custom applications. So this is pretty cool because it just makes it so that if one tech is using Spybot Search and Destroy and another tech is using rkill, you can sync everything up amongst your technicians in your shop. Integrations. So if you are using any of these CRMs to manage your ticketing, we have a cool integration for you that allows you to sync your TechSuite tickets with those CRMs. So if you're using Repair Shopper, for example, and you have ticket number 123 on Repair Shopper, and you open up TechWARU and you run this and you upload a report that has ticket number 123, when it gets to TechPortal, it's going to sync it over to Repair Shopper, and then on that ticket in Repair Shopper, you'd see the report. So it's a good way of keeping your information all in one place and your repair process streamlined so that everything stays efficient. Additionally, we have a webhook integration here, so you can post information about the reports to a URL. And if you use that in conjunction with something like Zapier or If This Then That, then you can integrate with pretty much any service. So I think there's like a couple hundred on Zapier. So if you want to put your reports on Google Drive or Dropbox, or you want a text message sent to your phone when a report's uploaded with the URL, or an email sent to you, you can do that with the webhooks here. Additionally, you can upload a Windows executable or a Linux executable to TechPortal and have them run in TechWARU and TechUSB respectively when they boot. We worked with Screen Connect to make sure that our TechWARU executable worked really well within their toolbox feature, but I showed you how it works. I mean, it's completely portable. You can use it within any remote session software, but we did work with Screen Connect in particular to make sure it worked within their toolbox. We have an iPhone app that is basically a replica of TechPortal. There's an Android app that will be released soon. I'm not sure when it will come out, but it's in development. The last thing that I want to show you guys is the custom branding. So you can upload your own logo here to custom branding applications, and it's really easy to do. I have this custom logo that I made in 5 seconds, and I'm going to upload it here, and we'll show you how easy it is to get everything custom branded. The other thing I can do is I can change the title bar on TechWARU. So I'm going to change this to My PC Repair Shop. Click Update here. And now that that's updated, I'm going to open up TechWARU one more time. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask TechPortal for my branding, and it's going to download the new branding. So here I'm going to drag it over to the screen, and you see that it's downloaded our new branding here and changed the title bar. And TechUSB will do the same thing. So it's very easy to do. It works across all the different instances you have open, and helps you brand your shop. So now that we've gone through everything, I guess we can do Q&A. I'll stick around for another 10 or 15 minutes. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. Oh, additionally, I did want to let you know that for attending this webinar, you get a discount if you decide to keep TechSuite. So if you're on a trial, we'll give you your first month half off just for attending this webinar. I have a list of everybody who attended, so I'll shoot you an email within 24 hours and let you know that I applied that to your account. If you decide to keep TechSuite, you will have that credit on your account. And here I will put my email address, so if you do need to get in touch, think of any questions afterwards, feel free to let me know. And that's in the chat box there.